So I've come inside from that shot. You see the church outside, and this is the theatrical space, if you like, where Holy Week is played out, where we enact the last days of Christ's life on earth, from his entry into Jerusalem on Palm Sunday to the Last Supper on Holy Thursday, to the crucifixion and death on Good Friday, to then Saturday, Sunday, when we celebrate his victory over death in the resurrection. I've come just a bit closer to the altar to show you the closer picture of the stage. You'll see a palm in front of the altar, and purple colours are covering a front image on the altar, and all the statues are covered in purple. I didn't know what this was for, but asked, and it's to do with fasting from images, in other words, and allowing our imagination to work. An image fast as well as fasting from food. We're meant to fast from images. The cross above the altar, which you can see, is one done by, is obviously the focus for the beginning of Good Friday. It was done by one of our monks, Brother Benedict, and in the background you can see the organ and the monks' choir stalls. So it's all set to go. The liturgy will be live on the webcam. So I'm now up at in the sanctuary where the monks' choir stalls are, and I'm looking at the other side of the cross than we looked at earlier. And I always think it's interesting that Brother Benedict didn't have a crucifix, didn't have a body on this cross, but a circle. And also that his last station of the cross also has a circle, that the resurrection is a great mystery, and that we've been really too literal in our understanding of the whole mystery of the Passion of Christ. And Mel Gibson, like with blood, and not to deny the reality of that, but the meaning of it can get trapped in literally interpreting the events that happened. And I think he's suggesting to us to go further in our contemplation, in our thinking about the central mystery of Christianity, which is love, the overcoming of death by love. There are many elements to the ceremonies. Holy Thursday would normally have the washing of feet, communion. It's a day of celebration when, as I said, Jesus gives his final pep talk to the disciples about the life of love. No washing of feet this year because of the restrictions, and we'll be on our own in the church. I'm not quite sure what the ceremony will look like, but all this, for us it's a day of celebration, and we actually have a joyful meal afterwards with wine and get together the community, because it is a gathering, a Last Supper where love is the key. Good Friday at 3:00. It's very low key, lots of prayers, the reading of the Passion, or it's in fact sung here, which is very beautiful, and the kissing of the cross, which clearly won't happen this year. And prayers, lots of prayers for different people, and they go on for quite a while. It's my least favourite of the three ceremonies. But then on Easter Saturday night at 10 o'clock when it's dark and the moon is full. We may get a sight of it this year. The skies are clear today. That begins with we're outside normally. Again, I don't think that's going to happen, with a huge fire, and that fire it's the Easter fire, and it's used to light the Paschal candle. And this has been going on, these ceremonies are very ancient, been going on since about the 3rd century. The Paschal candle then is one of the key symbols at the Easter vigil. And the candle must be pure beeswax. It's an enormous thing. I'll get it and I'll show it to you in a minute. And it represents the sinless flesh of Christ that he took on from Mary. The flame is meant to represent his divinity, the light of Christ, and the wick, and wax, his humanity, the earthiness. Now the candle is not blessed, but rather the fire is blessed. That's the first thing. The fire is blessed outside, and then that fire is brought to the abbot, who will be holding the Paschal candle, and the candle is lit. And then it's incensed, and there's 5 incense pegs put in the candle, these representing the 5 wounds of Christ. So you bless the fire and then light the candle, and then the priest, the deacon, carries the candle into the dark, dark church and proclaims Lumen Christi, light of Christ, light of Christ. And then the candle is brought in again 3 times. Light of Christ will be sung as he moves up the church. And when the person carrying the cross then puts it in the great candle holder, where it's then incense again, and the Exultet, the Easter proclamation, is sung. Very beautiful, and it refers to bees, I'm glad to say, since I'm a beekeeper. The candle remains in the sanctuary or near the ambo where we do the readings for the rest of the Easter season. And it'll be used throughout the year for baptisms, funerals, and other special occasions. It's lit, it's brought out and lit. But the very first thing, the very first duty it has, it's later in the vigil and often omitted, when it is used to bless the water with which catechumens, those who are becoming Christians, who've been preparing to become Christians, are going to be baptized. But just before they are to be baptized, the water of baptism is blessed, and the priest is meant to plunge this great candle into the water 3 times, praying that the power of the Holy Spirit come down through your Son into the fullness of this font. And as the candle is raised out of the water, the congregation claims, springs of water, bless the Lord, praise and exalt him above all forever. Now that plunging of the candle into the water I have never seen done. It's a very sexual image. It's one of fertility. And all these symbols speak to us powerfully, or would have spoken to us more powerfully when we were more in connection with nature. So I will get the candle and try and demonstrate what should happen with it. The rest of the vigil has a long series of readings giving us the history of salvation, and then there's marvelous light, the light of Christ, and we have wonderful chant to help lift us our spirits. Christ has risen. Christ has risen, we proclaim. He has risen and given us a new possibility to live at this high frequency of love. So let us rise, all of us, and celebrate this great mystery which we're privileged to be part of. It's a privilege to be part of. Okay, I'll get the candle, show it to you, and hopefully demonstrate what isn't normally done, but is part of the ancient ritual. Here I have the Paschal candle ready for use. It's pure beeswax, it has to be, the purity and virginity of Our Lady and Christ. It's also got the places where the incense will be inserted at the Easter Vigil. And the Church uses pure, natural materials like beeswax and oil. And the beeswax, as I said, and the wick represents the humanity, the earthiness of Christ, and the flame, the light of Christ. But the first duty that the candle is put to once it has been lit from the fire and brought into the church is to plunge it into the water, holy water, the Easter water, prior to it being used before catechumens are baptized. Now we don't have any catechumens to be baptized, so we won't be doing this. But if it is done, and the Paschal candle is taken and literally plunged into water in the font, the bigger one than this bassoon, 3 times. Now, I've never actually seen this done. It's, as you can see, it's a symbol of fertility. It's phallic, and maybe that's why it hasn't happened. Anyway, that's it was one of the other symbols of the Easter Vigil. And from all of us here, let me wish you all a very happy Easter and every blessing for this season in this difficult year. May the light of Christ shine in your hearts. So from everybody, from myself and from everybody here, God bless and a happy Easter.